Hello, my name is Joseph Arnstein. I'm with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and today I will be reading you "There Are Rocks in My Socks," said the ox to the fox. It's by Mordecai Gerstein. That's not true. It's by Patricia Thomas and illustrated by Mordecai Gerstein. Sorry. "There are rocks in my socks," said the ox to the fox. "Bumpy, old lumpy, old clumpy old rocks. Pinchy and squinchy whenever one walks. I feel very grumpy with rocks in my socks." X-ray view of ox's socks. And ox's shoe. You can see the pain right there. "See here, my dear steer," said the fox to the ox. "Why don't you stop grumping and take out the rocks? I must say I've noticed the longer one talks, the less time one has for taking out rocks." "But, sir, there's no way," said the ox to the fox, "to get rid of these rocks that are inside my socks. With my shoes underneath, my feet firmly on top, I see no way at all of removing the rocks." Poor ox, the rocks in his socks. "Let me think," said the fox to the ox with a wink. "There must be a way to get rocks out of socks. Eureka, I have it. Just do a flip-flop. Put your legs in the air so your feet aren't on top of the rocks, which will then slide right out of your socks. It's a good thing I'm clever," said the fox to the ox. "Yes, indeed, you are clever," said the ox to the fox. "If I do a flip-flop so my feet aren't on top, then the rocks will come tumbling right out of my socks. Flip, zip, flop, plop." There is an X-ray view. You can see the rocks still in those shoes. "There's a tack in my back," said the ox to the fox. "A prickly old tickly old stickly old tack. I really don't need this particular tack. If I found it was missing, I'd not wish it back. Furthermore, those rocks haven't budged from my socks," said the ox to the fox. Said the fox to the ox, "There's no need to sigh. I'll have it all solved in the blink of an eye. Quick, flick your tail neath your back, and you'll knock aside quickly that prickly old tack." "You're lucky I'm here," said the fox to the ox. "Yes, you're a great help," said the ox to the fox. "With a swish of my tail, I'll give that old tack a good whack, which will knock it from under my back. Swish, wish, whump, thump." It has not gotten any better for the ox.
Poor ox.
"There's a rail on my tail," said the ox to the fox. "A knotty old cloddy old roddy old rail, and I'm sure if this rail were placed on a scale, the whole thing would weigh just as much as a whale. I venture to state that in time one would dislike the very great weight of a rail on one's tail, not to mention the tack that is still in my back, and all of the rocks that are still in my socks," said the ox to the fox. "There, there, don't despair," said the fox to the ox. "For it's true, don't you see? I'm sure you'll agree. You've no more to fear as long as you've me. Your troubles are over, I swear it is true, for what else could possibly happen to you?" What does that look like? That's a bee. Bzz, buzz, flit, sit. Said the ox to the fox, "Thank you, my friend, for your faith that my troubles will come to an end. Perhaps you are right to make light of my plight. But it seems that the end is not yet quite in sight, for here I remain with rocks in my socks and a tack in my back and a rail on my tail. And if that's not enough, I believe a large bee has decided to stop and rest on my knee." There's the bee on his knee. Uh-oh. "That makes me uneasy, in fact somewhat queasy, for a very large bee is a thing with a very large sting." Said the fox to the ox, "Yes, it does seem to me you'd be much better off without that large bee. However, because I'm so clever, I instantly see a way to remove that large bee from your knee. Just be quick. Kick your toes in the air toward your nose, which will shake your knee free of that unwelcome bee." "Of course," said the ox. "How silly of me. It's remarkably easy to shake off a bee. Flick, kick, zap, whap." Oh no, he just kicked himself in the nose. Ow. Said the ox to the fox, "You've observed, I suppose, that I seem to have kicked myself hard in the nose." Ow. Meanwhile, the large bee, not choosing to flee, has been startled instead into stinging my knee, which is, I confess, quite unpleasant for me. Still, what's more, with these rocks still stuck on my socks, and the tack in my back, and the rail on my tail, I believe it is fair to state that my situation is less than great. Skippity, hippity hop, stop. My word, said the bird, my eyes must be blurred. I've never seen anything quite so absurd. A big grown-up ox with his back on a tack and a rail on his tail and a bee on his knee gives his own nose a whack. Please don't go, Mr. Fox. As for you, Mr. Ox, would you care to relate how you got in this state? It's a rather long story, said the ox to the bird. It's hard to explain everything that's occurred. I believe it began with my friend here, the fox, who's an expert at getting rocks out of one's socks. Said the bird to the ox, I really must say you're going about this in a very strange way. Why not simply roll over, lift your back off that tack, then just slide your tail out from under the rail, which will straighten your knee, which will so obviously will set the bee free. Mumble, tumble, roll, bless my soul. Now take off your shoes, then take off your socks, try wiggling your toes, then dump out the rocks. Next put back each sock and put back each shoe, which is all, Mr. Ox, that you needed to do. Is it true, what I've heard? Said the ox to the bird. All I needed to do to get rid of those rocks was to take off my shoes and to empty my socks? Of course, said the bird. Huh, what a simple solution. Jiggle, wiggle, bump, 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 thump, wump, lump. Ooh, right on the fox's head. I believe, said the ox, it might well be said that my friend, the fox, has rocks on his head.
And a bee on his nose.
The end.